They say the Obsidian Ridge backcountry doesn't forgive mistakes. It doesn't forget them either. It keeps them. I know. I was one of them. My name is Blaine. I used to guide men into those woods. Affluent men, desperate men, and men who thought money could buy silence from the trees. They were wrong. This is the story of the cabin keeper, and how I learned his darkest secret. It began with Harlan. He found me in the Last Chance Saloon, a bar that smelled of drenched canines and shattered dreams. No one sat near him. Even the drunks were wise enough to give his table a wide berth. The long coat he wore rivaled the color of dirt that adorned tombstones. He was gloveless, yet his fingers were black at the tips, as if he'd been dipping them in ink, or had braved the bite of frost. He slid a photograph across the table. This Polaroid document depicted a cabin with a single room, bereft of windows. The front door hanging open in such a manner that, from a distance, the house appeared as if it wanted to scream. Behind this unsavory abode was a dark thickness of the surrounding forestry. "Section 19, he said. His voice was a long, confident drawl, oozing with confidence, seldom buckled. "Take me there, triple your rate," he insisted, watching my eyes scan the picture. I laughed. Section 19 was a nonsensical landmark in these woods. I'd hunted every inch of Obsidian Ridge since I was 12. No marker, no trail, and no record indicated its existence. His proposed origins of this photo were fake. He had clearly taken this photo elsewhere. But the money was real. 3 stacks of hundreds, rubber-banded, still warm from his pocket. I took the job. I don't know what got into me. I had no idea how to explain to him when we inevitably could not find his house, but I was desperate for money. My father was drowning in medical debt, and I reasoned it would be irresponsible not to take what I assumed would be easy cash. We left at dawn, just the 2 of us, and our pack mule. There were no guns between us. Harlan said weapons offended the forest. I thought he was crazy. I was right, but he was paying for it, so I didn't press it. The morning was normal, and ultimately uneventful. Harlan was stoic and unsociable. I could have had better conversation with the compass I used to guide us. Noon was troublesome. The trail narrowed to a deer path. Our mule's steps became sluggish, until it decided not to move. Its eyes were listless and unfocused, as if regretting its existence. I tied its leash to a tree so I could begin inspecting it, but as soon as the knot was tied, it bolted south and never looked back. I stood there, dumbfounded, not just at the mule's sudden change in behavior, but the strength it had displayed. The tree it had been roped to was not thick, but should have been thick enough to keep it in place. Something had spooked it fiercely, and that adrenaline was now evident on the gnarled tree. When evening came, the trees changed. Pines gave way to ironwoods, trees that shouldn't grow above 6,000 feet. Their bark was smooth, almost skin-like. I touched one. It was warm despite the chilling weather. Harlan walked ahead. His pace was tireless, yet his demeanor remained silent. At dusk, he stopped. I was afraid he was going to accuse me of leading him in circles. Gulping down my anxiety, I walked up next to him. He pointed. Beyond the stretch of his triumphant finger lay the cabin. It wasn't there before. I'd swear it on my mother's grave. But now it stood in a perfect clearing, ringed by trees bent inward like worshippers. The logs weren't cut, they were grown, twisted together in spirals, sealed with resin that glowed faintly green. The door was iron. It possessed no handle, only a keyhole shaped like a mouth. Harlan knelt. From his satchel he pulled a jar. It was not made of glass, but of bone, carved from a single femur. This fetid canister was hollowed out and capped with a human tooth. Residing inside was a tongue, still pink and still moving. It pressed against the bone like a fish in a bowl. He held it to the door. The tongue spoke. Not words, only coordinates, latitude and longitude. Then, my name, Blaine. Clear as a bell. After this bizarre display, the door opened. Inside was a single room. No furniture, just the chair. It dominated the space, carved from a stump the size of a pickup truck. The roots were still alive, burrowing through the floorboards and drinking from the earth. The seat was worn smooth, polished by the seating of countless visitors over the centuries. Above it, scratched into the wood, were names, hundreds of them. Some were fresh, some so old the letters had bled sap. Harlan sat down. As his frame landed on the wooden structure, the chair sighed, like it recognized him. He tossed me the money and told me to leave. I grabbed the money, but I did not leave. On my way out, his actions held my curiosity hostage. He opened the jar. The tongue writhed as he placed the jar upon the armrest. The deceased organ spoke again. This time, a story. The first keeper was Jonah. In 1831, he built his cabin to escape the law, murdered 6 men for their gold, and buried them under the floor. But the trees remembered. Night after night, roots grew through the corpses and drank their marrow. On the 7th night, the chair spoke and offered Jonah a bargain. Feed me 1 soul every 7 years, and I will make you eternal. Jonah agreed. He would lure travelers, trappers, and surveyors. Each one sat in the chair. Each one left, changed. The cabin doesn't stay in one place. It moves, root by root, mile by mile. Always Section 19, always waiting. Jonah kept the bargain for 92 years. Then he tried to leave. The chair took his tongue first, then his name. Now, he is the jar. The next keeper carries him, speaks with his voice. Until the next, and the next. You, Blaine, are next. I ran. The door slammed behind me with thunderous refusal. The forest was gone. Before me lay a landscape of near barren white. The reach of snow was endless. Only a blizzard could have done this, but I did not hear one while in the cabin. Or had I been too distracted? I walked for hours. Time had become a superfluous detail as I wrestled with the traumatic memories I had just received. By what I gauged to be midnight, I found the cabin again. I was in utter shock. I had run to the edge of the forest, and I could see the road. Yet, somehow... No, there was no mistake. The tongue was right. The cabin could move. The door was open. Through the gaping entry I could see inside. I noticed that Harlan was gone. But the chair wasn't empty. Something sat in it. Wearing Harlan's skin, like a suit 2 sizes too big. The face sagged, and the mouth was sewn shut with pine needles. The tongue was nailed to the armrest, still moving, still speaking, until it began to yell with a voice I recognized instantly as my own. "Blaine!" it roared. "You're too late!" The thing stood, Harlan's skin peeled away in strips, revealing living wood beneath. It began to bleed black sap. Roots erupted from its feet, anchoring it to the floor. The cabin groaned and split along the seams. Its branches reached for me. They wrapped my throat and searched for my tongue as I attempted to flee. Their tendrils arrested my left wrist and my thoughts. I reached for a knife at my belt and hacked at the branches. The entire forest seemed to wail as my steel continued its savage strokes. I managed to wrangle out of its grip and dash to the road. I didn't make it far before the fade of adrenaline, exhaustion, and cold took me out, and I collapsed. When I woke up, I was outside the Last Chance Saloon. 3 days had passed. My pack was full of cash. The pay I had received but dropped on my flight from the cabin. I asked for how I got there, but everyone looked at me like I was crazy. "Your friend walked in here with you. Tell him his cologne smells a bit too resinous." I have no memory of arriving there, and even less of doing so with a friend. Needless to say, I don't sleep anymore. The cabin keeper lives behind my eyes. He speaks with my voice when I dream. My voice sounds different now, dull, unflattering, and prone to stuttering, as if the vocal dexterity had been pilfered from it. My family members have also noticed, and wondered if I suffered neurological damage from my last hike. I was vague on the details of that hike. They would never believe me. As far as they know, I collapsed on my way back, but made it home fine. But I am not fine. I have gone to the doctors, and they don't see anything wrong with me. A piece of me was left in that forest. I want it back, but I fear if I go searching for it, more will be taken. If you're reading this, check your map. Look for Section 19. If the marker's there, run.